so many reasons, but do you have a favorite reaction moment in the movie? Maybe even one you're not expecting?
Do I have one? I really liked the reaction towards the end when Justin gets his eyes. I kind of love that everyone's like into it and like, yes.
It's fun to watch Justin die. That's a good one. I like Justin measuring. I think that's always fun. And I also really like when Justin's appearance. I guess it's all about Justin.
It's all Justin.
When he first shows up, when we jump to Malibu and he's there, and it's fun to kind of feel the room, be like, what the fuck is this?
What's happening?
Yeah.
I think it's still working in the camera, so we'll just use the mics.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as a kid that watched Jeepers Creepers probably way too young, that moment kind of reminded me of the final shot of that because he's missing his eyes. Did that happen to be a reference, or am I just reaching?
You're reaching. I don't think I saw Jeepers Creepers till after I'd already cast Justin and before
Oh my
I
God,
went into
seriously?
Yeah, and I think it might have been you because I remember I told you that we cast Justin and you're like, oh my God, I love Jeepers Creepers.
Yes, such an amazing film. I
Isn't it
love
amazing?
that
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
So Georgina, how did you become a part of this film, and what was it about the script where you were like, oh yes, I want to be in this?
Well, I got sent the film from my agent, Jordan Burkers. He sent it really late one evening.
Oh, hi.
Right. And I at that time was considering another job. So he kind of sent it and was like, just like read this because I think this could be it. I think this could be really, really good. So I kind of started reading it really late in the evening, and I just couldn't stop reading it and was like racing through, and I was like laughing. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And then I finished it and kind of had this like massive amount of adrenaline and was like running around my house like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Like, what do? I have this job, but like maybe I could do this job. And then I called my boyfriend and tried to explain the whole script to him, and he was like, well, that's insane. What are you even saying? And then I said that Zach Cregger had written it and was directing it, and he was like, I'm sorry, Zach Cregger? And I was like, yes, and he knew Whitest Kids You Know. And
Woo!
And he was like, oh my God, he's amazing. Whitest Kids You Know is incredible. Like, you have to do this. And he basically immediately was like, oh, this is going to be incredible. This is going to be fantastic. You have to do it. And that was it, really. And then I spoke to Zach, and we had a really great conversation. And he was so passionate about the project, and it just, everything kind of clicked. And yeah.
I'm so glad that you came on to it. It was like, I couldn't have asked for a better leading lady. I really couldn't. And I remember that when our casting director, Nancy Nair, called me to tell me that you'd accepted the role, and it was that same feeling finding out that you came on that I had like the first time I got an acting job. Like, you know, it was like just like walking on air for like 15 minutes, like nothing could go wrong. So anyway, it was a real joy to have you. I mean it. Yeah.
I love Tess. Do you think she's ever seen a horror movie before? Because she just, I'm like, girl, no.
Yeah, I think Tess is like one of the best, like someone that you would want to know. She just has so much kindness in her, and I was speaking to someone about this the other day, and I was likening it to, you know, when you hear about really tragic events that happen, like there's a bombing or there's something that goes down, and people that manage to escape suddenly decide to go back and help people. And it's like only in that moment that you realize that you're that type of person that would do that. And she's that person. She's the person that would go back and help anyone and put other people above herself.
Yeah, she's coming back for you.
She's a fucking idiot. No. She doesn't know she's in a horror movie. She doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
What's going on.
It's like Justin Long doesn't know. He's measuring the square footage. Zach, where did this idea come from? Like when I go on an Airbnb, I am scoping it out for weird crawl spaces, but was it something like that? Were you in an Airbnb? Where did it begin?
I'll try and make it as short as I can. Like, I read this book called The Gift of Fear by this guy, Gavin DeBecker, who's like a security consultant. And basically, he had he had written a lot of examples of behavior that men can do that often women are encouraged to ignore, like little tiny microscopic red flags. That and the gift of fear is he's basically saying, like, pay attention to that little voice inside your head, because a lot of times when we bypass these little warning signs, it's to our detriment. And so those warning signs can be innocuous things like a man complimenting a woman when she didn't ask for it, or doing her a favor that she didn't ask being done, or initiating physical touch even if it's not sexual in a non-sexual situation. There's all kinds of little things that you really should pay attention to. So I'm reading this and I just had this realization that, like, I never think about this shit because I'm a dude, and like half the population, I don't have to consider them like a potential threat. And it was just this moment of like, it was a holy shit moment for me. And so I didn't want to write a movie, I just wanted to write one scene where I could load as many of those little weird red flags that I would ignore, but a woman probably shouldn't ignore. And so I thought a double booked Airbnb, and you're like stuck in a house with a man late at night, and he's doing all those things. He's making you tea. He didn't want it. You know, and Keith is being nice. He doesn't realize he's being inappropriate at times. But that's kind of the joy of that scene, is like trying to decode him. And so I was writing that, and then I kept going, and I was thinking, like, okay, Keith's probably the bad guy. You know, that's fun. Like, he's got some trick up his sleeve, and I didn't really know how it was going to work out, and I got her down into the basement, and then I was like, feels like now's about the time something should happen. I don't know what it should be, but obviously, you know, I was thinking, if the crowd, if I know what's coming, I'm sure the audience knows what's coming, and this sucks. I hate this. And then I was just like, giant naked lady comes out and smashes into pieces. And then I was like, oh, wow, okay, here we go. It wasn't much more thought out than that. That was how it happened.
We got to talk about Keith and some of the castings, because Bill Skarsgård I thought was really brilliant, because we all are watching that first act and being like, yeah, he's up to no good. Like, he's being too nice. And then there's this line that I don't know if it's intentional, but it made me laugh in the theater when he's like, what do I look like, some kind of monster? And we're just like, well, yeah, you're Pennywise. Of course we think you're a monster. So can you talk about that casting with Bill?
I mean, he was perfect for it, you know, because he's a pretty attractive dude. So I could see somebody being like, I kind of, maybe there could be a spark here. But he's also like immediately terrifying, you know. When he opens the door, I'm pretty sure everyone's like, he's bad. And that's what you need. And so, yeah, he was our first choice. Roy, our intrepid producer, who I think is in the room somewhere. Thank you, Roy Lee, produced it. And he has a relationship with Bill, so he sent him the script. And we got him. It was great.
Another casting I want to talk about is Mother. Can you talk about
I sure can.
that?
Matthew, would you stand up for us, please? He's in the room at the
Mother is here, everybody.
You can see beautiful folks. Look at it. Take your turn for the people, darling. Tell them what we're
Yeah, Matthew is my hero, man. He came out, he agreed to get naked and have Bulgarians glue shit to his body 5 hours a day, and he crushed it.
I love it. Well, why don't we take some questions from the audience? If you have a question, just put your hand up and shout it out. I see you right there.
Hi. It was wonderful. I loved it. Were you influenced by Evil Dead? Because the mother just seemed so reminiscent of that. But I mean, it was different, but it was so enjoyable. Just how weird she was. How she flew through the air.
She does fly, doesn't she?
Yes. Yes.
I was very much, I mean, Sam Raimi is one of my heroes, and so mostly his camera work. And so I kind of told my DP, when we go into the dungeon, we're in a Sam Raimi movie. And I made him watch Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, and Drag Me to Hell, which is one of my all-time favorites.
Yes.
And so I wanted that wide lens, you know, up close. You know, Peter Jackson does that a lot. It gives you a lot of like kinetic motion, and so yeah.
Yeah, it was apparent, but it was done differently enough that it wasn't like an imitation.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah.
I loved it. Thanks.
I see one all the way back there. Hello.
How did you create Detroit and that street and then go back in time and all that?
So we shot in Bulgaria, and we had a street in a field, and we built 13 facades of different houses, and you know, we used obviously Brightmoor, the neighborhood, as a reference, and so we built it to look very much like that. It's funny because the houses across the street from our hero house are built onto an existing one-story laboratory. So we like built them against this wall, and I was so self-conscious that like everyone's gonna see the lab in between the houses and be like, well, this is fucking bullshit. And I don't think, did anyone notice that? And raise your hand if you did. Yeah, so just goes to show you. But then we did go to Brightmoor. We did film. So when she's walking through the neighborhood and driving through the neighborhood, that's in Brightmoor. But our hero street is in Bulgaria. Yeah. How was that experience in Detroit? What did you think
In
of that area?
Detroit.
Like
It
Brightmoor.
was really like harrowing. It was kind of crazy. I didn't really realize. I guess because we started out in Bulgaria, so it was all sets, and I kind of thought, well, yeah, they're probably hamming it up a bit because it's a horror. Actually going there and seeing that's what it looked like was, I was quite surprised.
Yeah, it is. We did not exaggerate.
No.
Yeah.
I have to say, Georgina, you are the master of the horror walk. Like, it's so,
Well, they're like kind of ending.
Just
I
the
don't
kind
know,
of-
just like walking around.
Yeah, like I'm like, don't go in there.
Messed up.
Yeah. All right, I see one right there.
So I kind of have like a two-parter question. As a gentleman over here mentioned earlier, like the inspiration from like Sam Raimi and the Evil Dead movies, I was curious, what other horror movies inspired you for this film, or for you, what horror roles inspired you to prepare for this? And then I was also curious, what are some of your favorite moments from this film?
Okay, what horror movies inspired me? Audition, the Takashi Miike 99 movie. I just that's a movie that I think deals with sexual aggression in a very expert way and in a really surprising way, in a movie that doesn't follow any kind of convention, structural convention. So I really adore that movie a lot. And I would also say Psycho, that's probably the closest structural equivalent to this movie. And then Drag Me to Hell with the camera work. And I think Get Out honestly really opened a real door for me in like, you can make a really intelligent, fun, thoughtful horror movie, and it can be funny and silly. And I just thought that was a real. He really kind of like pushed the boundaries in a really inspiring way. So probably that. What about you?
It's kind of different for me. I don't think I necessarily looked at any specific horror films in terms of Tess. I kind of just looked at her through the script and the character that we were creating and working with the other actors and working with Zach. But I would say, like, Get Out, like Daniel Kaluuya's performance and just wanting to do something that was really grounded and felt really real was important to me.
The casting of Justin Long is interesting too, because I feel like we all know him as a very nice guy. So can you talk about that casting a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it right there. I wrote this guy thinking in my head I would cast someone. I think we offered it initially to Zac Efron because I was thinking I want to go for some beefcake kind of mimbo. And no diss on Zac Efron, I mean, but that's the way that he's portrayed himself a lot. So I was just thinking like jawbone, biceps, and a haircut. And then he said no, which is why I'm talking so much shit on him. No, he's great. I wanted him to do the movie. But when he passed, I had time to think, and we were putting lists together of like who to go out to, and I just realized I've been thinking about the role all wrong. Like a rapist that looks like what we all imagine a rapist looks like is not scary. Like we all kind of think fratty bro when we think of this sort of a person. What's more common and way more terrifying to me is the idea of a rapist who's like charming and like not this big kind of aggressive alpha sort of a dude, but like more of a Tom Hanks kind of a guy. So I was thinking like, who's Tom Hanks? Justin Long is Tom Hanks. Let's do that. So that's how it went.
How do you approach balancing humor and horror without stepping too far into satire or too little into too serious?
How do I balance humor and horror? I honestly don't. I just kind of write what I like. This was a very just intuitive writing process. I really didn't think much about it beyond what's the next scene. I didn't outline this. I didn't know where it was going. I just wanted to surprise myself all the way through. And so I didn't think about it. And I actually think that was the best thing I could have done, is just let it be this fun I wrote it in my garage late at night, you know, it was just like a fun thing for me. I didn't ever think it was gonna get made. So yeah, shout out to the Boulder Light guys who are here, who I gave the script to and were the first ones. Nobody wanted this. Like, it took me a long time, and then my buddies at Boulder Light, they got it, and they took it and ran with it. So,
Woo!
I appreciate those dudes.
Was that a balance for you at all, the horror and kind of the comedy aspect?
I don't think it was too much for me, to be honest. I feel like a lot of the comedy definitely comes from Justin. And I think that was kind of amazing to watch as well, like seeing that jump off the page and how he created these like really comedic moments in very dark moments as well. Like, you know, even the situation where he's talking to Zach in the bar.
Oh yeah, that's me, his juice bag in the bar.
And it's a really kind of horrific conversation that he's having, but the way that he does it is it's funny, like it's weirdly funny, and it's also like outrageous and horrible. So I feel like his character was definitely treading that a lot more.
Yeah, and even the moment where you're in like the cage and you're like, drink it, you're being dead serious, but he's like, what the hell, no.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely kind of, it was lovely kind of working with him and seeing him kind of create those moments, because he also does it in such a sincere way that it doesn't feel like a hammy comedy moment. It comes out of the sincerity of it.
Yeah, I love that. Right down the middle, right here. Yep, you.
How was it working with Richard Brake and having him on set?
I love Richard. I just love him. He's just this really wonderful, very hardworking, very prepared actor. He showed up and he had done like too much research on serial killers who had, you know, put women in dungeons. And he'd had a rough couple of weeks leading up to his arrival on set. But he was just totally trusted me. I mean, it's my first movie. I'm like an idiot, and he's just like everybody did. Just put himself in my hands, and you know, he doesn't do anything in the movie. You know, like, and that's an amazing accomplishment, is that he lets himself just be in those scenes. That's really brave, and so I really appreciated that he could do that.
What do you mean by too much research?
Man, well, he fucking built the dungeon, and he grabbed I won't get into it. He didn't know when he was in, I think he just was online too much, like looking at fucked up shit.
All the way to that road.
It doesn't matter, obviously, to the overall intention, but in your mind, did the realtor / Airbnb lady, was she in on it?
No. What's that? Wait, I gotta hear more from this person. Continue, sir.
I'm just wondering about, like, was the double booking on purpose?
Oh, no. Okay, so, no. So, you know, AJ owns this place. He lives in LA, so he's hired this company to be basically his property manager, and they handle the stuff. They listed it on all these different sites, and they fucked up, and so we've had a double booking. And none of them, AJ, the realtor, nobody knows what's under the house. And I think that that's been, you know, successful for Frank and what we call the mother, is that they've kind of coexisted with the new inhabitants by just being under the radar. So she'll slip out at night and collect food or whatever she does and come back. But I don't think like they, you know, get aggressive until you go into their area. That's what I think happens. I could be wrong.
Follow-up question about that, like the door that closes and locks by itself, was that, because it's...
Oh, well, it's a haunted, did you not get it? It's a haunted house?
It's supernatural at first, but then somebody said to me yesterday that it was like, oh, the killer probably made that happen so that people couldn't get out.
You know, it's honestly, that's just one of the logic drops of the movie. It really is. I mean, there's going to be a couple of moments where you just kind of like, don't.
I'm just...
It's all right.
I saw one right in front. Yeah, there you go. You right there, right in front of the guy that just asked. I saw your hand up. Yeah, you. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I did have a question.
Hit me.
Yes, for Zach, what's the symbolism of the toothbrush on the and for Georgina, this is my topic. What's your favorite Jamaican dish?
This is no symbolism of the toothbrush. I just didn't want to load too much stuff for her to look at on the sink. So I just like, we'll look at that, and then we'll look down at that. I gotta space the information out.
That's
a little
funny.
Bit.
That's funny.
Also, I think I've been in an Airbnb where there was an outlet on the floor, and my cord literally I couldn't charge it on the sink, so I had to put the toothbrush on there. There's no symbolism. I'm not like men are filth. On a scummy floor of a bathroom. What's your favorite dish?
My favorite Jamaican dish. I've never been to Jamaica. I don't know, so maybe you'll need to give me some recommendations of a good Jamaican dish. My dad's Jamaican, but he grew up in the UK and he doesn't go back, and I've never been there either. So sadly, I don't know that much about Jamaican food.
All right, let's go right here in the front.
For both of you, because I think you might have different answers. If Tess knew how much of a piece of shit Justin Long was in this movie, his character, would she still go back?
No. I mean, he threw her off a building. Absolutely not. I would hope that she would be like, fuck you, I'm out of it.
Yeah, no.
Does Tess get the refund?
No.
She got the job.
She didn't read the fine print.
Right here.
Why the name Barbarian?
I had to save the document, and I had to write a word to save the document. I think I had written in my first writing session that it's on Barbary Street. It's like Barbarian, sounds spooky, inhabitant of this place. Let's do that. Now it's been fun because on the comments of the trailer, some people have said some things that have blown my fucking mind. One person was like, 476 Barbary, that's very smart. It's very smart. 476 is the year that Rome fell to the barbarians. That's true? And I go, but that's fucking true. I didn't know that. That's insane. And then another comment I saw was like, Barbarian, that's very smart. Very smart title. Barbarian is Airbnb as an anagram. I was like, I didn't know that either. I didn't think about that. That's great. I love it.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Weird stuff.
It's amazing.
I love that the trailers don't give anything away. Do you have favorite theories that you've read that are?
Oh my God. Well, I saw a theory that was like all three houses are connected, and Keith is a hostage, and he has to get Tess to like, I don't know, be some domesticated, like kind of a Stepford Wives sort of a thing. And that's the only way he can get freed, and I don't know. All these people are like, that's gotta be it. That's fun.
Do you have a favorite one?
I'm trying to think what I saw one that was something about the whole thing is like there's going to be an experiment going on in the basement and something like that. But mostly what I saw was lots of people being like, come on, like this girl wouldn't do this. Like, why did she call the police? Why did she do that? And I was like, she does. Lots of people kind of being like, why would anyone do this? But I think there are reasons.
There are. I know, it hurts me. It hurts me that I can't like get into the computer and explain why she's putting it in.
She tries everything. Even initially when she opens the door, she's
She
like,
can't get a hold of
she's
it.
like,
Try
no.
that. Yeah.
She opens the door, she's like, nope. She tries to leave. All right, who else? Straight back.
What's in the milk bottle?
Oh.
Okay, so there's.
It was oat milk.
Oh yeah. Now what's
Within reality, it was oat milk. But what was in the
what's supposed to be? I'll
film?
tell you. So there's a scene that we cut out where Matthew, who plays our mother, Justin won't be nursed voluntarily, so she grabs a rat and she chews the rat up and she baby birds him. With
Oh
the rat.
no.
And we cut that out. But I think that there's a lot of rats in there, and I think some of those rats lactate.
Oh no.
Delicious. We have time for one more.
God.
All the way in the back.
Would you do another horror movie after this one?
Who are you
Both
asking?
of you.
Yes, I would.
Yeah, it would all be dependent on the script, really. It's kind of like, I mean, if something came in that I had the same reaction to as Zach's script, then absolutely.
Love it. And to wrap it up, why do you think Barbarian is meant to be seen in theaters? I think it was so fun to watch this with an audience, but I want to hear from you too.
I just feel like there's something about being in a collective sort of consciousness when you watch something like this that kind of amplifies itself, and it's more fun. It's fun to hear people be uncomfortable and release, and like, you know, the tension builds together, and it's like it's more joyful. And you also, when you come and you sit here with everybody else and you're all sacrificing your time and your attention, which is like the most important things that we have, and to do it together and to like react in unison, I just think there's something like that borders on like the sacred for that. And I think that's really special, and I love it.
Well, please tell your friends.
Oh,
See Barbarian. You
absolutely.
can post all about it on socials. Just don't post any spoilers.
Yeah, please no
Nope,
spoilers.
nope.
Please protect it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is in theaters September 9th.
Remember that?
Woo!
Thank you guys.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.